Paul Gordon just got back from Okinawa. You were there over the weekend, and you were there really to gauge the sentiments that the Okinawans have.
That's right, and what we heard from several people there and the governor as well of Okinawa was that this issue of U.S. Marines on Okinawa, particularly focused on one base, the U.S. Marine Corps Air Base at Futenma, needs to be resolved as soon as possible. Well, shortly after we were in Okinawa, the new Prime Minister, Naoto Kan, made this decision that the base will stay on Okinawa. This is the original plan set some time ago. Failure to change that plan is what brought Yukio Hatoyama down. Naoto Kan says the plan stays as is, and Okinawan residents may not be all that happy with that. You can't miss the U.S. Marine Corps Air Base in Okinawa. It's right in the middle of Ginowan City and bigger than New York's Central Park. That means military helicopters and planes regularly taking off and landing right next to homes, businesses and schools.
This base uses land that was confiscated from the Okinawa people 65 years ago during the war. It's about time they returned it.
The thing is, the US agreed 4 years ago to move the base. The issue for many Okinawans is where. Under the agreement, the base will move from near the Okinawan capital, Naha, to the more remote Camp Schwab in the northeast. The US stayed on Okinawa after the war to prevent Japanese remilitarization. Now, though, the island's importance may lie in its location between two potential flashpoints of the 21st century, the Korean Peninsula to the north and the Taiwan Strait to the south. Okinawa's governor says the plan to keep the Marines on the island may not be politically acceptable.
I've told the press, defense ministry and the former administration we weren't consulted in any of these matters. It's regrettable that such a decision was made on May 28th, and I still think it will be difficult.
The US says whoever's in charge in Japan, its government-to-government agreement to keep its bases on the island remains valid. As Prime Minister, Yukio Hatoyama spent 6 months trying to change that deal, failed and quit. His successor may face exactly the same pressures. And that's the issue, that Okinawans are not happy with the US presence on their island. There are 14 bases on the island. We're focusing here on one of them, but the sentiment seemed to be, generally speaking, that the US bases, which take up 18% of the land area in Okinawa and account for 75% of all US bases in Japan, there's just too much of that.
Now, we just saw you doing your report outside the American Village.
Yeah, American Village in
okay,
Miyama.
so we have 14 bases. I mean, that must be good for the local economy, at least, for local businesses.
Well, there were mixed views on that. Some of the people we spoke to did point out that, yes, Okinawa is quite a depressed economy. It's got an 8% unemployment rate. That is huge for Japan, and it's the worst in Japan. And therefore, these bases, yes, they create jobs. Others said they don't create enough of them, and there may be better ways. We may be able to free up some of this space for ecotourism, for example. It's a potentially beautiful island. It is a beautiful island, and maybe that's a better way of creating jobs.